Hey, my name's Ryan. It's Friday. Just got done with work for the day. Pretty good week of work behind myself. One more training session to get through this week outside of just like a light bodybuilding session that I plan on doing tomorrow. If you're just dropping in right now, or if you are a returning loyal subscriber, of which I appreciate you in the former and the latter. Most of these videos that you're seeing right now are just a thread of videos where I'm documenting my training, and at the end of this training block, if you will, of 10 weeks, I'm gonna try to, or I am going to test my high bar squat, raw, ass to grass. And I think generally like what I'm enjoying doing is just like presenting a topic of discussion for the video on my way over to the gym, and then throughout the gym just kind of elaborating on it. Today, here's what I want to do. I kind of just want to hang out, because what I want to preface this session with is I just did a podcast with Dave Hagerty, Dave Strength and Kindness on Instagram. Really cool dude, smart guy, really appreciate his content. And somehow, some way, the thought of Viktor Frankl came to my mind, and a specific quote from the book. Hold on one second, let me be safe here as I'm turning, make sure I have my eyes on the road. In the book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl writes, in what this context is, like the context of this book is Viktor Frankl was in Auschwitz, in Nazi Germany, and so it's really heavy stuff. And there's this one excerpt from the book, it's near like page 40 or something like that. It's like right towards the beginning, although it's not a very long book at all. And he's detailing how he is venturing out to one of their work details, and mind you, he's in tattered rags, he's exhausted, dehydrated, famished, in no condition to be doing any kind of work, let alone work that is forced upon him, and work that is just brutal, agonizing, onerous, whatever, you probably can't even describe how awful it was. But he says that in his journey over to the work detail on this specific day, he's thinking of his wife. And in thinking of his wife, he achieves the highest status that all of the poets and philosophers and people who are, just like yearning for something. He found out what it is that we're seeking, and that is the salvation of man is through love and in love. And I'll say that again. The salvation of man is in love and through love. And he puts that in italicized words. And he says that even though these extraneous circumstances that he's presently dealt with are, probably, some of the worst things a human being could ever endure, for a brief moment, through thinking of his wife, he experienced total bliss. And it's like that saved him from those awful circumstances for that brief time. And I didn't do any justice to like how beautifully and elegantly he writes that, and just the picture that he paints. So please, like that's like a top 3 book of all time that I would recommend reading, because only he can say what he is saying as good as he says it. Like, it's a book you just have to read. So what does that mean? Well, that's kind of where I want to leave this discussion as we get ready for the session. The salvation of man is in love and through love. Like, what I'm trying to make this about is like, how can you find a way through the training process? Because I think that everybody needs to train, and it doesn't have to look how I train. It doesn't have to look how, the strongest man in the world trains. It just has to look how training needs to look for you. That process of finding out what that is and continuing to push yourself little by little, every single session, find out what that is for you. And through that process, I think you will build some of the best self-love you could ever build, because you are taking the time to try to make yourself better, which is something that, right then and there, cut and dry, is saying that you are attempting to love yourself more, if you will, because you want to make yourself better. And that's one of the most loving things you could ever do for yourself, I think. Training is more than just the X's and O's, it's more than just the programming, and it's an unfolding spiritual journey that I think that you should try to participate in. And again, how that looks for you is totally up to you, and what you find out, I think, is for your own interpretation. But I definitely encourage you to go do it. Let's just go get it today. We're going to do some front squats, we're going to do some other lower body stuff, but just hopefully through us just hanging out, you gain a little bit of inspiration or motivation or encouragement to go train. Or if you already have that, then appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you taking this journey with me. So I'll see you in the gym.
out again. I'm near this speaker right here, but it's also in the corner, so I'm like out of everyone's way for the most part. So, I'm going to try to drown that out. Sounds weird. That's why. Just getting loose here. Did about 10 minutes on the bike. Just really want to get sweaty. I can access the front squat depth like pretty easily without too much warm up. So really just kind of warming up to these positions. One of the best things you're not doing for your warm up is the Conor McGregor. Makes your shoulders feel like butter. Put the 135, did for 2 sets of 5, and be pretty aggressive here. I'm like going all out, but still being intentional about how quickly I'm trying to find the bottom of this and then return back into the air. And as far as like an adaptation I'm pursuing, I don't know if this is like intense enough to be developing like elastic qualities, especially in the tendon. I think it would maybe need to be more intense. Maybe, I don't know. In terms of either weight or like the intent I'm putting behind it. And what I feel like this does a really good job of is like exposing you to that deeper position. I talked about this in previous episodes. I feel is really close to a clean and a snatch and the third pull, and like trying to continue to practice that without having to expose yourself to that third pull, because I'm only doing Olympic lifting once a week, so like I can still maybe maintain that feel, that quality by doing this. There's also something to be gained from ballistic contractions, and that you're not decelerating at all through any part of the concentric portion of the movement. And I feel like there's some gains to be made there. Go for today, build up to like 90%. We got 4 reps, singles. You're going to do a rep every 90 seconds. That's the prescription. Do a single here, then I'll go, that's 4 or 5, go plate. So this idea of like, preface this conversation with love. And I know that sounds corny. Maybe I shouldn't even say that. It doesn't sound corny. If you think that does sound corny, just maybe you should reorient yourself a little bit. But I feel like in this field, we do a great job of hauling out bad ideas. Again, I think that needs to happen. Ideas need to be challenged and criticized, although we could probably do it in a way a little bit more constructive. Until what it is that the algorithm feeds on just being like blatantly pugnacious, if you will. In that, like, the content that you make is explicitly, like, as soon as you're walking that you're calling someone out. But, maybe that message is better reserved for debates, just like conversations and things like that. And I just honestly don't even want to participate in that. I don't care for seeking out challenging ideas for the sake of notoriety. We should do it because it needs to be done. But if we're going to continue to do that, then at the same time, we should also build each other up, share good ideas. I'm actually going to go 365 before I go 405. Or a little bit more steep. Ramon Santiago y Bijao, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Definitely rolled that R well enough. He's considered the father of neuroscience. He had a really good quote early in his career when he didn't believe in the dogmatic paradigm that your nervous system is not malleable, but it actually can adapt. I think he believed that early on in his career, that it is malleable and plastic. But later on, I think he kind of changed his mind. But anyways, early on in his career, That piece said something like, he was talking about neurons and their ability to flower, if you will, by referring to their ability to form new synapses and just like branch out and make connections with other synapses. He compared that reality to a garden, and that the possibilities are innumerable and endless. So something like that. I'll see if I can find that quote and put it on the tree. It's a long quote. Can't remember it exactly, but I say all that to say, like, it's the same way with the training process. I think it's so silly that we get so butthurt about someone saying that training in a particular way is a good way or better than another way. Like, who cares, right? Like, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and training in and of itself just works in general. You just training, as long as you're abiding by just like that's the most obvious of heuristics, it's gonna work. I think it's important that we share other ideas, because who would you be without those ideas that have come before you and that are part of the culture now, right? Like, you are who you are because you have the opportunity to compare yourself against others. And I think that we should champion that more than we do. See, one more, I'm upset at like 455, and we'll go like 475 or something like that, where I'll core up to that. See if I can make a concluding remark on this topic of discussion today. Before I get into my working sets, because that'll mean focus. Auto range and art and artist. Listen, I'm not going to BS here and say that I've read that entire book, because I haven't. Only read chapter 1. It's a dense read, really hard to get through. But he talks about how the idea of art and culture being like paradoxical, that they can exist together, because art is subservient to the individual. But the only reason that art can exist is because it was brought up through the culture through which like that art relates to, right? And I say all that to say, like, I think you should try to create something. In training, if you're a coach, or if you just want to get better, just try to create something. Put your ideas out there, but do so in a way that is mostly respectful to the culture that is allowing you to do that. Because where would I be without, even though I don't necessarily believe in, block periodization anymore, or it's just not a paradigm that I use, like, where would I be without Bunpa? In reading that textbook, I wouldn't be able to compare my ideas to that. So I should champion that idea a little bit more. Where would I be without Louis Simmons? He gets hated on all the time, but like, movement variance from week to week is one of the major things that I subscribe to. And so without that, like, who would I be? And would I be enjoying training as much? Probably not. So, I don't know. It just seems like the narrative, like, when people who are prevalent in social media talk about training, it's like, oh, this industry, I hate it because of all these influences. Like, well, I mean, let's just try to talk about it more positively. Shine a more positive light on the situation, talk about good things, because who knows if that's even the case, Like, is it really that way, or are we just saying it's that way because they're predisposed to a negative bias on certain things? I don't know. But training is fun, dude. Let's have some fun. Yeah. All right, last warm-up set. Always on your last warm-up set, you want to build some confidence. You never want to go into your working sets lacking confidence because of a faulty last warm-up. So let's absolutely destroy this. No. Wow, it's 455. Let's go 475. You know what? Let's go 480. Round that boy off. Make it an even number. Again, we're going to go 4 reps. 1 rep every 90 seconds. So I'm just going to show you these reps. I'm not going to talk too much. Just want to focus. Just realized I didn't get a 10 on this side. What is this friggin' amateur hour coach doing? Let's get this money. Here we go. Halfway there, not gonna lie. 480 plus heavy. That's fine. But we're gonna continue to grind it out. and pretend that it doesn't feel heavy. It's a little trick. I don't know if you knew that or not. You can pretend that the weight isn't heavy, and then it will be. Move on small deficit remaining deadlifts, 2 sets of 7. Gonna add weight from the first set. Trying to reach like an RP of 7. The second set, which is gonna be like at 9. So let's just do a couple warm-up sets. Probably start with like 65 maybe. And just literally gonna do 1 rep here just to grease the grooves, and then add a plate, grease the groove again, and we'll probably be ready for our first set there. Let's go. I already did 1 set of leg presses. We're going to do another set. Going to try to reach a pretty high RPE. Thinking, here we go.
I think it's a little coincidental the way that this video ended up, in that it was talking about love in the beginning, and then like the middle part was talking about how we should share our ideas and like welcome criticism and welcome other takes when we do that, and like that's only going to make for the better. But whenever we do that, I said do, we should be doing it in a way that is constructive, positive, but also when we receive that criticism, if it is constructive and positive in nature, like we should not be offended by that, and we should just move forward with it, right? Like we can't have our cake and eat it too. It's hard to communicate clearly as a human being. Let's just leave it at that. It's hard, and I think we have to accept some aspect of fallibility here, in that like if we operate in conversations with that in, you know, either the foreground or the background of our minds, as long as we're just like keeping it in our minds as we conversate, then I think we might be able to progress, you know, as a unit, a little bit more clearly, a little bit more soundly, together as one. You know, let's do this thing together. Let's do this training thing together. Let's all get better together, which involves criticism, but also picking each other up. You know, we need both of those. Anyways, who knows where the wind will take us? Training is fun. Phew.